Hello, good morning, family. Nice to see you guys again. Well, I don't see you, you see me. But nice of you guys to come again and partake in the message of the day. Today is day 4. Today we're going to be learning about idolatry. It's a good one. It is a very informative one, but it won't be too long. Yay. We're going to focus on modern day idolatry, though it's not the same as your typical bowing down to the idols and statues and stuff. It's there's some people that still do that stuff, mind you, but we're going to focus on the things that we don't really recognize to be idols in our life, and just identify some stuff that can potentially have you bound and you don't even realize it. So the Webster's definition of idolatry is the worship of idols or excessive devotion to or reverence for someone or something. And the other definition is extreme admiration, love, or reverence for someone or something. The biblical definition to this is simply anything that replaces God. It could be your job. It could be your partner, it could be your children, it could be your clothing, anything that you put before God, anything that has dominated your mind is considered to be idolatry. Anything that you excessively think about, more than Him is considered to be idolatry. So yeah, we're gonna work on identifying some things. In Exodus it says that thou shalt worship no other God but me, and he's very says he's a jealous God, and he has every right to be. He created us solely for his worship, to worship him, and if he created us to worship him and we're partaking in worldly worshiping of idols and other stuff, then it almost makes our creation unnecessary, and I don't think he's going to accept that. I don't think he accepts that, and I wouldn't want to accept that. He commands us to worship him and him alone, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to start to live according to the word, so that we can see what God is trying to do in our lives, so that we could see what it is that he really has for us, right? That scripture came from Exodus 20 verse 3. I want to go to Isaiah. There's something in Isaiah that I want. Isaiah 42 verse 8 says, I am the Lord, that is my name, and my glory I will not give to another, nor my praise to carved images. He said, my glory I will not give to another. He's telling us there that it's not acceptable at all by any means. So we're going to go into a list of things that may help us identify, like some of us are not doing it intentionally. I got caught up in the idolatry cycle. And when my teacher taught me on it, I had no idea, until that lesson that I was dealing with it. So again, you reveal it to heal it, and God understands. He knows that some of us are, when I say God understands, I mean that he knows that some of us are ignorant to it, which is why he's continuously teaching, so as of tonight or today, sorry, now that you're aware, you are now responsible for it, right? So there is no God understands after today, just letting you know. Okay, so I found it interesting, first of all, that there was a writer that said that idolatry, the core of idolatry was self, which I guess it makes sense, but I didn't think about it before. The core of idolatry is self. Everything about idolatry speaks to ourselves. Mind you, the worshiping of God is selfless. Idolatry is all about self, all about what we desire, all about what makes us feel good. And the worshiping of the one true God is selfless. It doesn't matter how we feel. We give it up to God regardless. So I think that's an awesome point. So the first thing on the list of idolatry is materialism. Materialism, I love this. I absolutely love it. Is the accumulation of stuff. I was a collector of stuff. I had a lot of stuff, and I'm sure a lot of you have a lot of stuff. These things tend to replace. We tend to accumulate stuff to fill voids. You've watched hoarders and stuff like that. We tend to accumulate things because something is missing, because there is a space in us, because there is a hurt in us, because there's something in us that we have not yet, that has not yet been resolved. It could be a fear. It could be, some people collect things out of fear of abandonment. You like to have the feeling of things around you. But this is considered idolatry because it comes before God, in the sense you look to collecting as your comfort rather than finding your comfort in God. And he's saying that's not okay. He's here for us. He's the one that wants to be our everything. He wants us to turn to him in every situation. So we have to allow him to do what he's meant to do what he said he will do, which is give us that comfort and bring us through everything. And he said he'll never leave us nor forsake us, so we give it all to him. So yes, a collection of stuff. The writer even went ahead to say that some people buy bigger houses. I think that's great. Some people buy bigger houses so they can have more closets, so they could accumulate more stuff. There's people that are always upgrading, always want the newest technology, the newest clothes. It is another form of idolatry. As for the accumulation of stuff, one way to get rid of it, I went through and I got rid of a lot of stuff, and it feels really good. It feels really good. I'm somebody that, and only recently, only since I really started getting into my walk, that the Lord, he loves order. He's a God of order. Anything disorderly around him, he doesn't want it around him. So when I began to get really into my walk and intimate with him, the first thing he had me do was clean out my house. And as my walk went on, don't get me wrong, I didn't do it all at once. As my walk went on, I got rid of more and more stuff, because he just kept demanding more and more space. He just kept saying, no, you're holding on to too much. You're holding on to too much. Why are you holding on to it? I say that if there's a natural disaster and you lost everything, what would you cry about? I thought about it, and that was 95% of the stuff that I kept. The other 5% was the kids' stuff, the other stuff, and my clothes. So it's worth going through and taking inventory of what's in your home, and clean out your inner house and your outer house, and I guarantee you it'll break some chains. When you start to let go of some things, it'll start breaking some chains. Number 2 on the list is pride and ego. Obsession over jobs, careers. Like, people use their job people often make their jobs their gods. Work always, no. Work often comes, I have to get rid of that word. Work often comes before the Lord. Often, because we depend on money. But God is saying he's the head. It goes God, family, work. Not work, family, God, or work, God, family. It's God, family, work. That is the order that he has set up for us. We focus on him first, and he then sets all of our affairs in order. When you are not focused on God, it's very difficult to get your affairs in order. You always find yourself in debt. You're always up to your throat in this. You're always going, bill collectors calling. This is going on. That's going on. This is going wrong. That's going wrong. You always got to hustle here, hustle here. You never get any rest. Let him do it. Let him do it. He's really good at it. So yes, pride and ego, always seeking more, seeking promotion, seeking raises, always spending so much time away from the family, and the children are at home, and the wives are at home, and the husbands are at home, starved for attention, because you're using your work as your God. You've made work your number one priority. We understand that you have to survive. I understand that we all have to survive. It's not easy, but God says his yoke is easy. So you put it all in him. You put your trust in him, and he will provide for you. Absolutely. He'll never let you down. Never. Yes. Oh, Solomon talks about it in Ecclesiastes 2, verse 21. He talks about having to work, your entire life and leave everything. I'm going to read it to you actually because it's a quite interesting scripture. It says, "For there is a man whose labor is with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, yet he must leave his heritage to a man who has not labored for it. This also is vanity and a great evil." I love it. I love it. "For what has man for all his labor, and for the striving of his heart with which he has toiled under the sun?" He's basically saying you can't take none of this with you. So what is it that you worked all your life for? You spent all of this time laboring under the sun, he says. You spend all of this time laboring and working your butt off, and you go and somebody comes and they waste everything that you've left behind. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Make God your number one. The third on the list is mankind. This one refers to naturalism and science, how men, started to exalt themselves. And so many people believe in this nonsense about revolution. I never came from no monkey. I don't know about anybody else. That is a lie from the pit of hell. But man has convinced the world that science is above God, because they have been gifted with the ability to do these great things, to create these great things. God has blessed them with these amazing minds, and they've taken it and used it against him. Very sad story. Very sad story. Yeah, and they've encouraged the world to reject God through their creations, making themselves lords. Yeah, that one I don't really like. I don't like any of them, but that one bothers me a lot. The nonsense of evolution. The fourth one on the list is self-indulgence. Drugs, alcohol, food, the things that we take in sex can be a self-indulgent. The things that we take into our body that give us great pleasure, that often come before God, that when we are unable to practice self-control over something, we have put it before God, because God gives us the control over everything. God says we have dominion over everything. So when we exalt something above ourselves, even above our ability to control it, we have told God that we don't have control over this thing. This thing has dominion over us, and that is against his word, right? So this becomes a form of idolatry, because it's like, we're basically telling him that we have no control. We have no self-control, and he has given it to us, right? So there is a scripture in 1 John. 1 John, it talks about the three lusts. There's the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life. These three things, everything that we're talking about would fall under these three things in some form or fashion. And the only way to get through it, the only way to overcome it, is to identify it and to reject it. Identify it and reject it. Once you've finished watching this, you go, we're almost done. It's really simple today. But once you finish watching it, you just go ahead and you call out those things, and you reject them. And you gradually, if you can't do it immediately, you gradually just, you begin to pray about it, and you believe God to give you the strength for it, and just continue to push it out until it's the last thing on your mind. Whatever dominates your thoughts is your God. Allow God to be your first thought. He's the healer. He is the comforter. He is Alpha and Omega. He's the creator. He's the author and the finisher of your life. He loves you unconditionally, no matter what you've done, no matter what you're doing. Trust in him. He is number one. He commands to be number one, and he shouldn't have to, because he's awesome. I'm going to wrap it up with Matthew 22, verse 37. It says, the first commandment, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. It's not easy, because the mind thinks about all kinds of things, but it is definitely possible. God bless you, women. I hope you guys have taken something from today. If you have any questions, I'm going to post the scriptures in the group, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Be blessed.